We want to know you, please. So please let's keep the chat rolling. Thank you very much. The more I see people responding to my questions, the more I get to read them out. And please let's not be shy, you. We want to get to know you. It's an interactive section, so let's keep conversations going, please. Oh yes, we have more conversations coming in. We have Damas. Hope I pronounced that well, from Kenya, and you're a graphics designer. You're welcome, and abstract artist as well. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. We have Barrister Nusta Harry. Hope I pronounced that well. And you're an actual property lawyer. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Do trademark, copyright, patents, registration, and the likes. Thank you very much for coming. You heard about us on WhatsApp. That's very, 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 very nice. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm sure this will be very impactful for every one of us. Let's keep conversations going, please. Um, if you are just joining us, I was asking, for us to drop our names, for us to tell us, where you're joining us from, if you're in Lagos, if you're in Ghana, if you're in Kenya, anywhere at all. And you also let us know what creative field you're in so that we can get to know you. This is our first webinar, and we are really, really keen on knowing everyone that attend, you know, this webinar. So please let's keep the conversation going. Thank you. The more conversations I see, the more I read. All right, we're still having more people introducing themselves. We have Naomi. Naomi, and she works in communications, copywriting, and digital marketing. She has 4 years of experience. That's lovely. And she heard about this program or this meeting rather from Instagram. That's lovely. Naomi, it's a pleasure meeting you, and we hope that you learn a lot from this webinar. So to usher us into more engaging aspect of this webinar, to tell us more about why we're there, why people are still dropping, their KYCs, their names, and every necessary thing we ask them to drop on the chat box. I want to call upon Sadiq to usher us to the next round, please. Sadiq, please, over to you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Sonia. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Please.
can. Yes, we can.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Suleiman Sadiq, and I'm the Community Manager for Creative Money Africa. So, on behalf of everyone at Creative Money Africa, we say a very big thank you for every one of you for joining us on this our first webinar. So today's session is actually the one you've been waiting for, you've been looking forward to, because it's going to speak reality into many creative that you guys know of. That is, it's going to touch all aspects of creativity. Just stay with us. So let me quickly ask you one question. It's like, have you ever wondered why someone can be so incredibly talented, thereby putting in so much work and still struggle to make a sustainable living from their creativity? Have you ever wondered that? Have you ever wondered that, right? So today, just stay with us, because that is exactly what today's conversation is all about. So our topic for today is creative talent versus commercial success. That is creative talent versus commercial success. Before we begin, I think, Miss Sonia, I've seen a lot of, I've checked the chat, a lot of people have been sending in their messages, like the names and where you're joining from and the creative field you are in. Really appreciate that. We really appreciate it. We have a lot of people from diverse creativity niches here. Thank you for joining us today. So, I think we have a lot of people. Let me see. Miss Sonia has done that, but okay. We have Miss Melissa here, a social media manager, a visual creator, and she's from Lagos. That is good. We also have Miss Toby here. Okay, from Abuja, Nigeria. She's communication expert. I think we have Miss Blessing Chukwu here. She's a virtual assistant, a product manager, and a remote work mentorship coach. Yeah, I think this is nice. It's good to have everybody here. It's very, very good to have everybody here. So it's great to see creatives from different backgrounds joining us today. We really appreciate that. We hope today's session is going to give you practical insight that you can apply to your own creative journey. Like I've said before, stay with us till the end. You are going to learn a lot today. As we go along, I, the community manager, like I've said, I'm the community manager. I'm going to be in the chat, gathering your questions. If you have any question as the class is going on, as the webinar is going on, drop them in the chat. There's going to be a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. The host is going to attend to every question you drop. So now, our host today is the founder of Creative Money Africa, Mr. Ekpedeme Ufot. Even though we are Creative Money Africa, we call him Dempsey, because some people might struggle to pronounce his name well, but we call him Dempsey here. But his name is Mr. Ekpedeme Ufot. Mr. Ekpedeme Ufot is passionate about helping African creatives build sustainable careers by combining creativity with business. Through Creative Money Africa, is creating a platform where creatives can learn, connect, and unlock more opportunities to thrive. That is who our founder is. He's very, very passionate about making the money and the creativity meet each other. Just like as our name implies, Creative Money Africa. That is, creative and money is our founder, Mr. Ekpedeme Ufot. Is very, very practical. He wants to help African creatives. Wants to help them. They have the creativity already, but some are not making money from it, which is our main goal. At Creative Money Africa, which is to help the money and the creativity meet each other. So, that is that. So let's read again from the let's see who has joined us again. Because we like to have a lot of people here, because we want a lot of people to benefit from this webinar. This is going to be very impactful. Okay, I can see many people joining. We have Miss Esther. Okay, it's very, very good. So without further ado, in order not to waste our time, so that now it's my pleasure to introduce to everyone our speaker, our very own speaker for today. Please, everyone, join me in welcoming Mr. Ekpedeme Ufot. Mr. Ekpedeme Ufot, sir, over to you. Are you here, sir? Mr. Dempsey. Are you with us, sir? Are you with us, sir, Mr. Dempsey? Let's wait for our host. Our host is going to join us in a jiffy. Just stay,
Sadiq, I can hear you.
ensure you stay with us till the end of this webinar. I promise you it's going to be worth your time. It's going to be worth your time.
Right. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Sadiq. And thank everyone for making out time to attend our first webinar in a series of 12. I'm super excited to have you here to share lessons, experiences, and even mistakes that I have made or witnessed people make in the course of my 18-year career in advertising. So, if you're wondering why you're here, if you should be here and what you're going to learn, this webinar is for designers, writers, fashion designers, photographers, content creators. Indeed, I think every human being, we tend to box creativity into artistic expressions alone. But I mean, even the surgeon, the chef, I mean, all those activities require some level of creativity. So tonight, you're going to learn how to turn talent into income, build a strong personal brand, price your work confidently, and build a sustainable creative business. So the webinar for today is not about becoming talented. We assume you have the talent. Now it's about monetizing it. So how do you become more valuable so people can pay for your talent? Um, if you're meeting me for the first time, I'm not just appearing from space. I've been existing on Earth, specifically Lagos, Nigeria. Not just existing and working for some of the biggest brands in Africa across banking, telecom, FMCG, government, private, public sector. In those years, I've done everything from media buying, planning, strategy, even creative direction. But my core has always been in that intersection where creativity meets commerce. I guess that's what has brought us to this point where we are creating this community of people who are passionate about their work, but also want to see how that work can translate to tangible outcomes, money, prestige, and what have you. Hi everyone, sorry for the interruption. Can you hear me now? Please say it in the comment section if you can hear me. Okay, thank you. Apologies. I'll just quickly go through this again. I was saying that the webinar is basically to learn how to turn talent into income, build a strong personal brand, price your work confidently, and then build a sustainable business. So it's not about becoming more talented. It's like we assume you have the talent. So now you want to convert it to something valuable that can earn you income on a sustainable basis. So I just didn't appear from space. For some people who don't know me at all, I mean, I've been in advertising over the past 18 years, built some of Africa's biggest brands, worked across media buying, planning, creative direction, and all that stuff. But at the core of what I do has always been that intersection between creativity and commercial success, or commerce, if you call it that. How can we convert God-given skills into something tangible, that people can pay for? So this webinar, indeed, this platform, Creative Money Africa, is about that singular goal of converting talent into income. All right, let's. Okay, so this is me in a nutshell. I just introduced myself. So 18 years in advertising, marketing strategy, planning, and all that. Founder Creative Money. So basically, I've seen creativity create lots of money for brands. And even sometimes for the companies who do the work for the brands. But I've also seen creatives, struggle, to make ends meet themselves or not even fulfill their real potential, which leads us to what I call the great creative what do I call it now? The conundrum, right? So now, why do some creatives thrive while others merely survive? So that's the great creative paradox. So what I'll try to do over the course of the next few hours or minutes, if I may call it that, is to share my lessons, 18 of them from 18 years in advertising. So, lesson number one, talent is your entry ticket, it's not your destination, right? It gets you into the door, it creates opportunities. You can earn admiration, but commercial success requires more than talent, because the market doesn't reward potential, it rewards outcomes. And those outcomes are basically driven by how you can convert your talent into something tangible to solve a problem for someone is willing to pay for. So while talent may get you in the room, it may not get you a seat at the table, or it may not even keep you in the room. I mean, we live in an intensely competitive economy or industry, as it were, and there's always someone waiting to take your spot, if you slack, as we say. So, lesson number one, talent is not enough, it's just the entry ticket. So, lesson number two, the market pays for solutions, not talent. So, think about this. If you go to a doctor, you're not paying for the medical degree, you're paying for an outcome. You want to feel better. So the question isn't how talented you are, but how useful you are. So the client, for example, doesn't care how good a copywriter is, is how much of my goods and services can you sell with this, your writing skill. So if you're writing for yourself just to feel, oh, I can write, then you're not giving value and you're not going to pay it. So money follows value and value follows solution. So people don't pay for what you do, they pay for what it does for them. So as a creative, you must always think solutions, solutions, solutions. Your talent is not just for yourself, it's to create solutions that people are willing to pay for over and over and over again. So that's lesson number two. Number three, creativity without execution is just potential, right? Anybody can have ideas. Ideas are abundant. Execution is rare. Indeed, my personal experience, I was someone who had lots of ideas, celebrated for having ideas. But then one day, a senior colleague of mine said something to me that we laughed about it, but it sort of changed my trajectory. I came up with an idea, and he was like, "You're always full of brilliant ideas, but you have several abandoned projects." It was funny, but I had a quiet moment, maybe weeks after. I'm like, this is quite true. Okay. So what are the impediments, that stop me and indeed other people from moving from just having ideas to actually executing and being consistent about it? Some of the things I learned in that period have built the foundation for what we're discussing today. So ideas create possibilities, but execution creates results. And results, that's what people pay for, not your ideas, not your talents. So moving on, lesson number four, visibility equals opportunity. So the world's best singer in a locked room remains unknown. the world's best designer. Nobody gets to know you. People cannot hire what they cannot see. So I mean, I understand the fact that your work will speak for you, but sometimes you have to speak for your work. People need to listen to you speak. You know, Again, another personal experience. If someone asked me that I would do a webinar this time last year, I would have said it's not possible because I was quite comfortable in my lane. But then sometimes there's a higher calling that comes, some higher purpose that you need to take out yourself. At that point, it's not about what you like. It's not about, oh, I don't like being seen. I want to be the quiet mover and all that. There's certain callings, certain purpose that God calls you into that you need to literally just take self away and then get on that mission. But again, in the world we live in today, visibility is important. you know so if you're out there as a creative thinking like I used to think, I mean, to be honest, that visibility is vanity. It's not. It's strategy. It's what opens doors for people to know you, patronize you. So lesson number 4: visibility is opportunity, not vanity. It is strategy. Number 5: influence is currency. I mean, we've all heard of man, no man, and all that stuff, but there are opportunities that come strictly from the relationships you have. There are places that if you don't get into, you can't even get access to certain opportunities because you don't have the information. So there's a saying that your net worth often determines your net worth. Yes, because what you know can determine who you know, one. But again, it's funny because who you know can determine what you know. What do I mean? What you know, which is your skill, gets you into places. You know that thing that they say in the Bible, seest thou a man diligent in his work, he shall stand before kings. So skill is important. It gets you access into places. And then when you get into those places, who you know now determines what you know. Information, for example, government policies can reshape or change the trajectory of, of your business. So imagine being in a room, for example, you are friends or friends with someone that knows, let's say, Aliko Dangote, for example. And just by virtue of being in his house, you get to hear some information that can change how you approach your business, how you strategize. Or that thing they say, hindsight, insight, then foresight. So you know something that provides an insight. So the hindsight provides insight that gives you foresight as to what is going to happen and then how to prepare for it. So who you know, key lesson from this lesson is that who you know is sometimes more important than what you know. Because if you have all the skill and you don't have the opportunity to display it, then it's almost a waste. So that's lesson number 5. Influence is currency. Now, number 6: personal branding creates opportunities. For example, again, my own personal example, I the fact that we're possibly less than maybe 1,000 people in this room this evening is a problem of personal branding over time. That issue of, oh, I'm happy to be where I am, do my stuff, everything is going well, but then sometimes it denies you opportunities, you know. So strong brands attract clients, collaborators, investors, employees, media attention. There are people that before they give you business, they're going to look you up, right? I mean, I know there's sometimes that's fluff and then depth and all that, but there's a way you can build your brand in a way that communicates depth, substance beyond the fluff, because people also get to find you out. If you get opportunities based off just the fluff, when it comes to execution, it's going to show up. So credibility is important, right? Because if you don't brand yourself, people do business just strictly off, oh, someone says something, oh, I know this guy, or they go on social media or Google, and that personal brand gives you credibility. Like what's this guy's name? Said this, what's this, the Apple guy, Steve Jobs. Your investment in your personal brand is the most valuable investment you can make in your business. So, I mean, again, it's not vanity. So, personal branding, personal branding, personal branding. I think this is where a lot of us get it wrong, you know. But yeah, lesson number 6. So, moving on now, lesson number 7. So, you create like an artist and think like a businessman. You know, there's the time to, wear the hat of a creative, and then there's time to move away and like think numbers, think business. So I mean, it's fine. Master your craft, but then master the business of your craft. You know, you need to blend creative excellence with commercial intelligence. Otherwise, you may find yourself working for free, people taking advantage of your creative talent, you know. And it's not about being a nice guy. I mean, it's a business, you know. Businessmen think in numbers, in outcomes, in P&L, you know. So until there's a place for that, the artistic wizardry, and there's place for business acumen. As a matter of fact, I think as you grow in the business side of creativity, your raw talent sometimes it's not that you don't pay attention to it, but there are moments where you can even hire younger people, groom them to do that same work, and then use your expertise as a businessman to expand the business, pay more people, get more for yourself, and then build a sustainable business. Don't forget what this is about. Is about building a creative business. So it's not about just creating for creating sake, you know, creating that is sustainable, that people can pay for, and then you get rewarded. So being creative is a gift, monetizing it is a skill. Now, the thing about skill, if you don't have it, you can get it. There are courses like accounting for dummies and all that stuff, or books you can read, you know, and then also you can decide, okay, am I going to acquire this skill, or is it a skill I can outsource? You know, for me, for example, if I'm going to acquire a skill, I'm looking at the long-term value of that skill, and then I'm looking at is this something I can afford to pay someone right now? You know, if I can, I might as well outsource it. But if it offers long-term value to the business or to my career, then why not? You know. So you need to also be able to decipher between skills you can acquire and perhaps, you know, and what you can outsource. So please let us know if you're still with us. You know, are we adding any value? Do you have any questions so far? You know, post your emojis and all that, and then we take it on from there. All right, then. So number 8, this is quite important. You know, pricing is a positioning tool. It's not just a number. So you don't price based on emotion. For example, maybe someone upsets you. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to charge $20 for this thing. Or maybe you're excited. Your team wins a football match, and you know, you say, oh, $10. There has to be a system. As a matter of fact, one of the things you are going to benefit from our community is we have built a pricing tool, like a calculator, that will give you optimal level of pricing. So you have like a threshold where you can't price below a certain threshold or above, and then it's justifiable. So if you have a client who is like, why are you charging this amount? You know, you can show why, because there are indices. You know, I can't speak much to that, but once we launch it, you'll be able to accurately determine at least the optimal rate to charge for your services. So the right price protects your profit, because you can do business at a loss. I mean, you can do good business and then lose if you're not tracking, you know. So if you are pricing at a point where your cost of items are not being covered, you know, again, you're just working for someone else, you know. And then and also price influences how clients perceive your quality and expertise. So sometimes pricing low might think is being affordable, but it signals cheap sometimes, you know. So if you don't value your work, the market won't either. So then finally, before I leave this lesson number 8, there's a framework we've developed, which is called Discover My Business, which helps you track where your business is at, the things you are doing right, things you are doing wrong. Based on that, we can see where you are and then offer solutions over the course of the next 30 days. What we are trying to do is to make this as practical as possible. It's not, I mean, we are not, this is not a motivational speaking series or inspirational series. It's about practical learning, things I've experienced, things I've learned, things I've developed that are useful to people. So the community is about how can we move together, to create this shared prosperity, whereby there's collaboration, there's massive growth, not just in Nigeria where we are currently, but across Africa. I tell my guys consistently, the Africa in Creative Money Africa is not just there for being there. It's because Africa is our mandate, So we'll share that once it's ready, but join our community. Sadiq will make the links available and all that, and then we'll take it from there. Now, lesson number 9, consistency beats occasional brilliance. For me, I think this is where this presentation gets very serious for me. You cannot thrive if in a year, you come up with 1 or 2 good ideas, and then the rest of the year, you sleep. 1 brilliant project won't change your life. You have to show up repeatedly. Success is not built on just moments of magic. You have to be consistent. You need to have systems, and then not just consistency in terms of how you deliver your work, in terms of following through on ideas. I'm sure there's someone in this room, maybe it's you or someone that if you ask them in January, what do you do? Or what are you working on? They're working on something else. And then by June, you're like, oh boy, what's up? And the guy is like, oh man, there's this new idea this one is, by December, they've moved. So the monkey mind, they keep jumping, and you can't do much if you keep jumping from idea to idea. I mean, imagine someone who, let's say in January, you ask him what he does. He says he's a photographer. By June, you say, oh, I have a photography job for you. He says, oh, bro, no, I've moved on. I now do farming and agriculture and stuff. And then December, you have a gig for the guy that, look, come, there's this government project. They need some supplies. He says that, oh, he now imports fabrics from China. I mean, if you're like me, I'm not going to call you again because, the energy is it's too unstable for me, right? So consistency is important. So you have to find the right path. The keyword is the right path. Find the right path and keep at it, however dark, lonely, or narrow. You're going to find yourself at moments where people don't believe in what you do because they can't see. Not because they don't like you, not because they just can't understand it. So it's about you understanding what you're about, and which is where you need to think deep, right? Don't just have ideas. So for me, the 3 questions I ask before I embark on any project is that, does it solve any problem? 1, so if it solves the problem, is there a market for it that people are willing to pay for? And then finally, do I have what it takes to execute? Now, in execution, sometimes you have to outsource, or it might just be you, and all that. But I think those 3 questions have sort of helped me move projects from just ideation to execution. Like I said earlier, I'm a victim of a lot of abandoned projects. So, this series is about being real. So we're not coming to talk about just maybe successes, or we're talking real stuff that either I've experienced or I have seen other people experience, that I'm trying to ensure we don't repeat those mistakes, right? So moving on now, lesson number 10. This, for me, is, I think you shouldn't bother doing anything at all if you don't have the passion for it. Because the consistency that I mentioned earlier, without passion, you can't be consistent. You have to, you see that fire that keeps burning. When no one is watching, you're just doing something, you are there night and day, keep pushing, and there are times that excitement wears off. So you start a project, you're like all fired up, and then after some time, you know, it kind of, I mean, it dies out or fizzles out. I mean, that's where passion comes in. It keeps you going. And the thing about the universe is that if you keep going and going and going, right, and you're passionate, it has a way of attracting the right energy, right, into you. So that passion, I mean, for example, um, okay, right, one of the things we are doing, which this webinar series is a build up to, is the launch of the book Creative Money, right? And then, of course, the official platform launch. I remember when I was writing, can you guys hear me? I'm
Loud
getting
and clear.
feedback from the team that there
Yes,
might
we
be
can hear
some
you.
issue with.
So we can hear
Okay, you
you.
can hear me, right? Okay, thank you. Um, hope I'm making sense.
No, you are my boss. You are my boss.
Okay,
Keep
thank
keep
you.
keep keep the
All right.
fire
So
burning.
so that passion is very important. I mean, you can't do anything without it. I mean, I can stay on this for as long as possible, but to save time, so I was going to give an example. The book I'm writing, because I was so passionate about it. You see, passion doesn't mean there won't be hard times. you know I mean, I do what is called time blocking, where I allocate a certain time to certain activities. There have been days when I sit down, I want to write from, let's say, 10 to 12 noon, and then I sit on that chair between 10 and 12. Nothing happens. Or maybe the idea comes 11:50. But you see, once you're in the zone, and that's what passion does. If you allocate a time that I want to work on this thing from, let's say, 10 to 12, even if the ideas don't come, just stay there. Don't do anything else. The subconscious, the mind has a way of, I don't know if it happens to you guys. You are thinking of a strategy document or something, and then you sleep, and maybe you dream of something or some ideas start coming, and it's the subconscious mind still working. Even though you are sleeping, it's working, over time. That's what passion does. So it consumes you. Like whatever you do becomes like spiritual in nature. Like yeah, like So passion is, for me, it's even the foundation of building a sustainable creative business. So number 11, and thank you. And yeah, we have some more people in the room. Thanks for joining us. We'll acknowledge you later. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. We don't take your time for granted. Now, number 11, authenticity. Again, I was a victim of this, or I violated this principle. In my younger days, I always wanted to create something, something new, something crazy. I didn't really bother about some fundamentals, you know, but much later I understood that, look, authenticity is powerful, but sometimes you just learn from what works. So you need to know when to be innovative and when to be practical. The goal is not to be novel. The goal is results. Are you solving a problem? And sometimes innovation is basically improving on what exists, not starting new. And sometimes about connecting existing things in new ways. So you need to master the fundamentals before breaking the rules. For example, design has principles, things like contrast, balance, emphasis and all that stuff. You can't, in a quest to be innovative, break fundamental rules. If you look at the universe, look at the story of the creation, how God structured things, you can see order. Because I tend to find that sometimes in our quest for creativity, we want to throw away order. Imagine if God had created human beings first and later figured that, oh, these guys will need light to see. So even in the story of creation, you can see structure, you can see some thinking, from thinking to execution. So yeah, so there has to be you have to master the fundamentals in any profession, anything at all. There are fundamentals you need to master, and then you can add your own spice to it. You know, Again, soak up experiences, ideas, styles, and then mold into a style that is uniquely yours. In preparing for this presentation, I mean, I was given lots of videos to watch by my team, but I mean, maybe I watched one or two because I made up my mind that, look, while it is, I mean, it's nice to watch and watch other people, you gotta be authentic. You have to be you. speak your own way and share your own experiences. That's the authenticity. That's what people are coming to listen to when they talk to you. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel to be original. So the smartest creatives know when to innovate and when to adopt proven models. So lesson number 7, I mean, this is quite important. I could write a book on this. Authenticity is powerful, but then we need to be pragmatic sometimes, and that's where we get it wrong. That overthinking and sometimes going into analysis paralysis, which is a major creative problem, So that's lesson number 11. Lesson number 12 is presentation matters. You need to learn how to sell your ideas. My first ever presentation was a disaster, right? The feedback I got from my overall boss was that I presented as if I didn't care. I was basically saying to the client, look, these are good ideas. If you like, you take it. If you like, you know. So what I got from that was that it wasn't that the ideas I had in the document were not good. It was the manner of presentation. I literally was just like I couldn't wait to leave the room. So people lose opportunities because they cannot communicate value. You need to learn how to persuade. I mean, some people are born with the gift, you know. Some of us have to learn it and keep improving and learning because at the end of the day, great ideas are not going to sell themselves, You have to sell the ideas. I mean, imagine going to a presentation you have a pitch for your business for investors, right? You need to be able to sell. That's that thing they say that investors sometimes, most times, buy into you first, before they buy into whatever else you want to sell, they look for cues. And again, if you have, for example, stage fright, you know, I think it's important to acknowledge that there's a problem, right? And then ask yourself, what is more important? The problem you have, which is stage fright, or the emotion you feel of stage fright, versus the outcome you are trying to achieve. You know, even if you stutter or you're a stammerer, what is more important? Even in the Bible, God used stammerers to do things. So, because sometimes too, we tend to look at maybe personal deficiencies or, oh, I'm dark, I'm white, I'm this, and then forget the goal. Like I mentioned earlier, if I was to look at my preferred style, I won't be sitting here today. I would prefer to be somewhere, maybe having fun or something, and then doing my work because the people who know me in my line of work know me. So it's not like I have that compelling need to start a webinar or to put people together. It's because there's some higher calling that is almost spiritual in nature. So you have to look at what are you trying to achieve. And another thing is that, not to digress, but you see, sometimes a lot of us are put in this world for a reason by God to solve a specific problem. You may be quote and unquote unlucky that if you don't like public speaking, to solve that problem that God wants you to solve, you need to go and learn public speaking. So it's about the end goal. So the outcome. So your ideas are only as valuable as your ability to communicate them. So ignore the maybe your physical or whatever, the maybe stage fright or you see what is important is, do you have something here to communicate? You should have more confidence in what you have to offer the world than in how you offer it in terms of maybe, like I mentioned earlier, stage frights, or maybe you stammer, or you're in a setting where people speak in a certain way and you are trying to speak that way. First of all, you lose authenticity and there's confusion. That's what happens when people speak. You can't you can't tell if they're speaking, American English or British. There's confusion at that level. But authenticity, matters. What matters most in presenting, in my own experience, is that do you have something reasonable to say? And then how best can you say it? And then understand your audience. I mean, you need to go into presentations understanding who you are talking to, right? I say to people that going into presenting without knowing your audience is like writing a love letter and addressing to whom it may concern. So you write this beautiful love letter, sell the nice things, and not address to anybody. So in presenting, you need to know your audience. How do they think? Who are the guys in the room? I always ask those questions, and I try to go early, sit in a nice place that I'm comfortable, and then wait for people to come in. That also helps in terms of having a good presentation because arriving late already makes you like, you're scattered, So yeah. Um, Number 13 is you need reputation. Reputation compounds, right? Trust compounds credibility and all that. So people remember how you deliver, which is your skill, how you behave, which is your character, stroke attitude, and how you solve problems, your value. I dare say something. I've seen more careers destroyed by just attitude problems. In fact, I think attitude has destroyed more careers than AI can ever do. You know that superiority complex. Oh, I'm so good. Nobody can talk to me. You can't collaborate. You're always like, at some point, people stop talking to you, and then word gets out that this is who you are. That's why people say attitude determines altitude. So that reputation is important, humility. Sometimes, yeah, you need to stand up for yourself, but I mean, humility is important. So that's lesson number 13. Your reputation sells behind your back. So next lesson is 14. Hope people are still there. You guys are still there? Okay. Collaboration accelerates growth. I mean, you can't scale alone. I mean, you need to, more so in this world, you need to build relationships, partnerships, and ecosystems that you can work together, right? You can't, I mean, let me use to make a dress. You can't design and sew and be the one to buy fabric. You need people. So this lesson is basically about how important people are, in building a sustainable business. Whether people in terms of, your staff, or in terms of your clients, or in terms of, your suppliers. So you need collaboration. People can work with you. Collaboration creates opportunities that talent alone cannot. I mean, imagine Lionel Messi taking the ball from, it's not possible, from one end of the goal, running all the way and scoring, and then runs back to go and be the goalkeeper. Messi is thriving because there's a team around him. People are collaborating with him. That is why we have Lionel Messi thriving. Sometimes you are the star, but you need your support cast. So that's another important lesson in this creative journey: collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. And lesson number 15, intellectual property. This is something that is more important than the space I've allocated to it, and that's partly because we have someone coming next week to speak to us on intellectual property. But I'll give you a story that, I mean, I won't call it controversial, but it's a story I know, and it's true. There are two bank commercials in this country today that are so popular, right? One is GT Bank. We are Guaranteed Trust Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us? And then there's Fidelity Bank. Fidelity, we are Fidelity. We keep our word. You all agree with me that these are powerful, powerful slogans. GT's slogan has been used from, I think, 91, thereabouts. Fidelity much later. But guess what? The agency that created it, specifically where I used to work, SYU, isn't earning from that intellectual property. We can forgive them. At the time this work was done, IP wasn't such a big thing. But if you are doing that kind of thing today, then I mean you have yourself to blame. So everything you create, from your slogans to your designs, everything is an intellectual property. So it's basically an asset. The way you have land, IP is an asset. It's something that even after you die, your children, your great grandchildren can still earn from. Look at the Beatles, the Michael Jacksons of this world. People who understand intellectual property, it's like eternal wealth. You know, right now you can even use it as what's it called, collateral. You know, so the question I will ask you now is, Why create it if you won't protect it? So lesson number 15, your IP is a valuable asset. Right. So okay, we have some new guys in the room. Digital artist, creator, creative strategist, abstract artist, trademarks. Okay, okay. Welcome to you guys. Thanks for joining. Even though we're rounding off soon, but I promise it's gonna be a series. I won't be the one being here every time, so but I'll be always around. Yeah, so we have intellectual property next week, and then there's something on finance as well coming up. How to, manage your creative business, your finances, tax reforms, and all that kind of stuff. So back to my own session. Number 16 is adaptability. You need to adapt, right? Things change, technology, platforms, consumer behavior, markets change. But you need to always ask questions. And that thing I mentioned earlier about information also helps. The information you have can determine how adaptable you are, right, to changes in technology or in whatever shape or form. Like it could just be like government policy or someone. I mean, you're about to import something and there's a policy, right? That information can help you adapt, or change strategy. So, and sometimes the cost of adaptation may be high, but it's temporary. Cost of irrelevance is permanent. It means you get to die. Like I say in my office, you have three options. Either you adapt, pivot, or die. The market is going to keep changing and changing and changing. When we started advertising, digital marketing wasn't a thing like that. you know but over time I've had to evolve to even building tech platforms. I have wireframes designed and built and all that. Meanwhile, I'm a pure communications person, so I've had to like adapt, with technology. And all the guys that I know that succeed adapt to change. So lesson number 17, please. Okay. I love this. AI requires HI. So we all know about the AI boom and all that. So AI can do content, do all this stuff, but there's some things AI cannot do. And those are the things that human intelligence is required: judgment, strategy, taste, creativity, and all that. Your AI is as useful to the point of your intelligence. So it's like almost like Gigo. It's not almost, it's Gigo, garbage in, garbage out. So for AI to really work, you need that human intelligence. In fact, the major differentiating factor going forward will be that intelligence, because AI can do pretty much most things. So I tell people that if you ask me today, the three most important skills you need today and in the future will be: one, thinking ability, which is intelligence. Can you identify problems and profile solutions to those problems? And then number two skill is, can you get things done? And getting things done is tied majorly to your understanding and usage of AI. So it's not a bad thing in itself. I mean, it's how you use it, right? And then finally, human skills. In an increasingly automated world that AI can do most things, the two things it cannot do are that thinking and the relationships. That is where you can, where you come in. So whoever can develop high strategic thinking, ability to use AI, and then that human skill will thrive in the digital economy that we live in today. And then the final lesson before we round off is money is not the enemy. It doesn't kill creativity. There's this, there are people who feel that maybe sometimes commercial mindedness is a detriment to creativity. No, it's not. Less stress means better ideas. The reality is that the more stressed you are, the harder to get ideas, or at least for me, right? I mean, if you are owing your house rent, for example, let's say you are 6 months late, I'm struggling to see how you can thrive and create great ideas under that that quagmire, because you're not stable. I mean, I know hunger sometimes can inspire creativity. What we're discussing today is not hunger. We're discussing how to make money, So, and then new experiences. You need to travel sometimes, traveling costs money. Sometimes you need to go somewhere else to like, maybe just drive, and then experience new stuff, So creativity thrives when survival is no longer the primary concern. So you have now left the Maslow's uh, basic hierarchy of survival into a higher realm where you begin to create, and this requires money. So money begets money. So you get this money, you get some stability, better thinking, you can identify opportunities because trust me, lack of money can dampen your thinking ability, even your confidence as a human being. It affects how you relate with people. Even when they're discussing maybe transactions, you're just sitting there. The opportunities that will come your way, and you can't take advantage of it because you just hear it, but you don't have the resources, which is why I tell people that liquidity is very important. So these are the 18 lessons, but just to round off, let's Abraham, can you change you know. So in summary, these are the 5 pillars of commercial success, right? Your talent. Talent is what you know. Value, what problem do you solve with what you know, and how does it benefit me or anybody else? And then visibility, who knows what you know, and that you can solve that problem. Then business. So the next pillar is business. How do you make money from solving problems based on what you know? So knowledge applied, right, to a tangible outcome. And then execution. What can you do well on time, consistently? That on time, timeliness is important in execution. Like my boss used to say that a brilliant presentation submitted late is useless. So if it's a pitch portal, for example, and they say deadline is 4 p.m. and you in your enlightened, enlightened, what would I call it now? Enlightened self-destructiveness, choose to submit after 4. The portal will be shut down. Nobody gets to see it. So timeliness is important. And then finally, before I leave you guys, there are 3 questions I would like you to ask. Question number 1 is, so basically, ask yourself, what talent do I have? How much time have I spent on earth? So, for example, let's say we are given the biblical 70 years. How much have you done of that? How much more time do you possibly have? And then how much talent, how have you applied your talent, within that space, So given the talent you have and the time God has given you, what do you have to show? So talent, time, treasure. What talent has God given you? How have you used it given the time you have spent on earth? And then finally, what do you have to show for it in terms of impact and in terms of even treasure for yourself? So these are questions I think you should, think about as you sleep tonight. And then, yeah, thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to your questions and chatting with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That was an amazing session.
Any questions? Packaging and fake life. So I think let me start with fake life. Fake life, that one speaks for itself. Fake life is fake. There's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing. So it doesn't exist. So yeah, pretty much, even you yourself, it's fake, that you don't have it. Packaging is you have something. How can you make it nice or nicer for the world, for people to appreciate? So there's a substance, there's a gift, there's something, something to share with the world. There's talent. The other one is fake life. There's nothing. I mean, there's no substance. I mean, it can't get you far, right? So yeah. Any other question? I think the switch, you don't switch actually, you know, is to, it's to know how to compartmentalize. You start as an artist, right, which is talent, you know, and then at some point you start getting paid, and then you need to build a business. Now, the skills needed to be an artist are different from the skill needed to be a business person. So it's about compartmentalizing. You don't switch, because if you switch from the art, there's no business. The business is the art. you know the art is what feeds the business. It's just so you keep the art but then apply business principles. That's what you do, so you don't switch. You pretty much know how to compartmentalize. Hmm? S- uh,
Yes, so thank you for this session. I appreciate the time. I think it's been impactful for some of us that are trying to join the creative space. And I want to know how frequently will these sessions be, and what is the modalities of this. Oh, I don't know if modality is the word, but what do we look forward to coming on from here? Thank you.
okay, thank you. I didn't get your name.
My name is Jide Lamo.
Okay. So we're having this weekly for at least the next 12 weeks, and so this one is the first session where I'm basically talking about my own experiences. Then the second one will be on intellectual property, and we'll have subsequent ones. Then yeah. So but every week from now till September, we'll be sending you a link on how to join the community and then emails as well. You know, so we'll be keeping you updated. Yeah. But then again, after the official launch of the platform in September, we intend to have even physical events where we bring people together, investors, mentors, and all that into into one room, to just network, learn and all that. Thank you. Mm, yeah, I think. Yeah, we're talking about courses or having rights to works you create, though most clients don't allow that. So if a client wants to own your work and doesn't allow you, then you have to charge a premium, right? If your creativity is God's gift to you, to create, to solve problems, not in perpetuity. So, for example, now there can be a contract where we agree that you can use this idea for 3 years, and then you have to renegotiate. It's not in perpetuity. I can't create something for you and then use it for life and make money, and then me, the creator, is struggling, because that has been the lots of people that have created some phenomenal stuff, right? Music, movies, advertising, and then again, like I said, at the time or before now, IP was not something we took seriously. But right now, I think there are people that specialize in this, So the next session on Thursday next week will be on IP. So I hope you'll be able to attend so you'll learn in detail. Mm, thank you, Mr. Demi. Let me see. Yeah. So any more questions? Yeah. Okay, I saw an interesting question. How does someone create value in a highly competitive environment? Lovely question. First of all, you need to understand when you say highly competitive, what you need to define the environment. What environment are you operating in? What does that environment require? So like the baseline. So for example, in advertising, for example, clients want ads that people like, people ads that are engaging, ads that that can sell. So that's the basic requirement. They now need to go above and beyond. For example, most agencies really can't move the needle in terms of demonstrating that, look, this is how much we're able to generate from this campaign. So they stop at the awareness level. So if you're in that field and you're able to tell the clients that, look, you gave me, let's say, $1 million to run this campaign, being able to directly track that this $1 million has generated another 3, 4 million. That's extra value. So my point is that understand your environment. What is the basic requirement in that environment? And then you now go extra. So it's a question that is contextual. So I just use the context, which is advertising. Now, I'll give another example. There's a pitch we went for. So I got into partnership with someone who's very good at getting startups funding and all that. And one of the things we pitched to them was that not only are we coming to tell you how to spend your marketing budget, we have the network, to get some investment into your startup, So that was some extra value beyond what every other person would present, which is I can place ads here, I can design and all that stuff, you know. So it depends on the context. Yeah. So I think if I'm going to present to a potential client and there's 5 others doing the same, how do I position myself differently? Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing is similar to value. So if you are going for a presentation, you know the client first of all, right? What does this client expect? You know, and then what are the other guys competing? If you can find out that information, it helps. So you can pretty much know how the strengths, the weaknesses of the other people competing against you, and then how to optimize your own strengths. So because it's about knowledge, really. Sometimes you find yourself in an industry that is so commoditized that there isn't much difference between what this guy is offering versus the other one. So you need to get creative, find ways, of differentiating. And then relationships too. Let's be real. That's why I mentioned influence earlier. There are times when the difference between you and the 5 others is who you know. So what you know is an advantage. The guys inside that know you can say, look, these guys are damn good. But then this is our person. I mean, these things happen. Let's not kid ourselves. So knowledge, 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 what you know, and sometimes who you know as well. Yeah. Please join our community. Sadiq has shared the link. We can still engage further. This doesn't end here. So if you have more questions, you can drop in that community, and then we'll also keep you abreast of things we're working on. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a pricing tool that will help you price optimally, and then several other stuff. There's this Call My Business framework that can help you. If you just go there and answer some questions, about 2 minutes max, you will see your score and then know exactly where you are in your business journey, and then what of the 6 things we call the 6 core pillars of creative business, you can tell which one you're lacking, and then we can then work with you to optimize better. Okay, so while still waiting for questions, so just to add, this, I mean, this community is not, it's about us growing together. There'll be lots of opportunities, um, investors. One of the things we want to do with the platform is how to, so Creative Money Africa, we say structure, package, monetize. The monetizing aspect to beyond learning how to make money is about connecting creatives to potential investors and all that. But then beyond that, how do we get you investor ready? Because investors, unfortunately, don't care about the creative idea. They care about markets, profits. If I put in this, how am I getting it out? Those are the conversations we're going to be having in the community. So you can join us, and then yeah, I thank you all once again. It's been, I mean, it's our first session, you know, looking forward to more. Your time is valued and all that. So next Thursday, 6:30, I'll be back here, but I'll be having someone on intellectual property who will dive deep into how you can protect your intellectual property. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sadiq.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ekpedeme Ufot. This has really been a very impactful webinar, and I'm sure everybody here who was opportune to join us on today's episode of our webinar, because of course it is an episode, because it will keep going on for 12 weeks. So we say a very, very big thank you to you, and to everyone who joined us also. We're expecting you every week. Join us every Thursday, 6:30. The webinar every Thursday, 6:30. You also get a notification through your email whenever we are live or before we are live, so as to remind you that it is still continuing. This is just the beginning. There's more to come. Like we said, intellectual property is going to be like our host, who is also our founder. Like he said, intellectual property is our next week's topic. And I'm very sure everybody, if not everybody, at least some of us here must have had that kind of issue with intellectual property, or that has led to like problem with a client. You wanted to boast of your work that you did for them, and they wanted to own the whole of the work, whereby you did the heavy lifting, and they don't want to pay or whatever the issue was. Next week, join us next week, whereby everything will be broken down by our next week's speaker. So I think in the absence of any question, we have come to the end of our today's webinar. Thank you so much for your time, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, and we do not take this for granted. And also, check through the link, check through the chat, the link to the community. This is a community. Our community is not just any other community. This is a community whereby you can meet with every other creative from different fields. In this community, you can meet with people that you would want to collaborate with. People you don't even know you want to collaborate with, but by being part of the community, in the community, there's going to be discussions about pricing and everything that around the scope of creativity and making money from your creativity. So the link is in the chat, and I'm going to send it again right now. If you've not seen it before, check it now. I just sent the link again now. I just sent the link to the chat now, so you can join us for further conversations, because I promise you, the group is going to be worth it. The community is going to be worth it. It's not just any other group, please. It's a community. So, and we'll continue to be in touch with you for the coming webinar series. You will definitely get an email with the link to join the webinar with. And the webinar is going to be, like I said before, let me reiterate, let me say again, our webinar is every Thursday by 6:30 p.m. And this is just the beginning. There is more to come. There is more to learn. A lot of things, and I'm very sure you're going to learn a lot from this, and a lot of practical things which you can apply to your day-to-day business activities. Don't forget, the goal of Creative Money Africa is to help the creativity and the money in our name, which is Creative Money Africa, to meet each other. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you.